I've been making sourdough at home for about 5 years now, and man, is it ever a journey. I have some ups, I have some downs, but I would say for the last year or so, my loaves have been consistently really, really good. I wouldn't call myself an expert, and I'm definitely not a perfectionist. I get distracted, I do other things, I fill my day with all kinds of random crap, and I still manage to come out with some pretty good loaves. This is the loaf that I baked today. I just feel wonderful about it. I think this is pulling something like this out of the oven is so freaking satisfying. And for anyone who's been curious about making sourdough, but they're worried about making mistakes or it not turning out perfectly or whatever, I want this video to show you that you can do it too. So this is my imperfect type B non-pro baker sourdough making routine from start to finish. Sourdough starts the night before you want to actually shape and make the loaves. 2 days before I actually want to be eating it. I start in the evening by feeding my starter. To feed it, all I do is add flour, a good amount of flour. If you think in thirds, like a third of the amount of starter, I would feed it 2/3 that of flour, because I want to give it a lot of flour to feed on. This is basically feeding the yeast. And then I add just enough water to make it into a thick, more like a dough than a batter. There was some sourdough video I watched at some point that said a stiff starter is better than a runny starter. So I've taken that to heart and I always make a very stiff starter. Remember that this is going to expand a lot, so don't fill your container too high. You kind of have to find the right size container. Otherwise, you'll get some overflow in the morning. A little bit of starter on the counter is not anything to cry about, but yeah, I generally try and avoid this. So when I wake up in the morning and my starter is nice and bubbly, I then go about making my bread dough. I have my little recipe on the fridge here just in case I forget. So this is the amount for 2 loaves. 175 grams of starter. I always use a scale. A scale is the easiest way to measure ingredients. Fight me. 680 of water. I just use tap water. I whisk that together really well to make sure that all the starter is kind of broken up at least. It doesn't have to be fully smooth, but I want it to be very well mixed into the water. Then I go in with my flour. It's 850 grams of flour total. I tend to do a 50-50 mix of whole wheat and white. I'm using bread flour, both for the whole wheat and the white. And then I add the salt, 15 grams, and mix it all together. I either use a fork for this or I'll use a dough whisk. Either way, it works. All I do is mix this together really, really well so there's no more dry patches and the dough just looks kind of cohesive. I'm not worried about making it look like a smooth ball or anything at this point. I just want it to be well mixed. I stick a lid on the bowl, walk away for 20 minutes usually. Sometimes 30, sometimes I get distracted and I come back 45 minutes later. It's always fine. That's my point. Don't worry too much. It'll be okay. So this is when I'm gonna start to see a real change in the dough. It starts off being just this like sloppy kind of shaggy mixture. After 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the gluten starts to work on its own and the dough starts to actually get quite smooth. So I do a few folds and turns of the dough, start to kind of make it feel like a cohesive lump. And then I pop a lid on it and walk away again. Now at this stage, I'll do this 3 or 4 times. I'll walk away for half an hour, come back, give it a few turns, lid on, walk away. There are lots of different ways to fold dough or turn dough. My favorite method is called a coil fold, and that's where you just basically lift up the dough in the middle and let the top and the bottom flaps kind of flap underneath the dough, and then you pivot the dough, turn it like a quarter, and do the same again. So it's just like lift, tuck under, rotate. And it doesn't take very many of these to get a smooth dough. Like I said, time does a lot for the activation of the gluten and it starts to get really nice and smooth. And then it's time to bulk ferment, which basically just means let the dough rise in the bowl. On this day, my friends and I actually did like a crafternoon type thing where we did paint by number. So I came home like 4 hours later or something, and the dough was doubled in size. But the bulk ferment, it totally depends on how hot your kitchen is, but I find it takes anywhere between like 4 to even sometimes up to 10 hours. So sometimes I leave it all day long on the counter, bulk fermenting, and then it isn't until just before bed that I shape it and put it in the fridge. You just have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. All right, so now that it's bulk fermented, it's time to shape it. So I'm gonna divide this into two because I'm making 2 loaves. Sometimes I weigh them, sometimes I don't. Each dough ball should weigh around 835 grams with this amount, but sometimes I'm just lazy and I just eyeball it. And shaping can be a little tricky. You don't want to use too much flour, because if you use too much flour, you won't be able to get good surface tension on the dough. With sourdough, you do want to get good tension, sort of create like a skin around the outside and like tuck in the edges around it so that the layer on top is quite taut. So I generally just work with it until I feel satisfied. I'll divide it up and I'll kind of give it a little mini shape at first and then shape it by tugging the sides over itself, rolling it, tucking the ends underneath the dough until I feel like I have a nice like tight surface around the outside. Then I like to roll it in semolina flour. I see a lot of people using rice flour for that because it doesn't absorb into the dough as much as wheat flour. I like to use semolina. I think it's just because it's what I have and it works in a similar way. And then I drop it into my banneton baskets. From here, I just wrap the whole thing with a plastic bag, shove it in the fridge. Try not to make it too tight because it is gonna rise in the fridge somewhat. Leave it in the fridge overnight, wake up the next morning and I bake my bread. Now's the fun part, we actually get to bake it. If I'm making 2 loaves, I'll often stagger my bakes. So I'll bake one the next day and then I'll leave the other one for the day after. I do find that 2 days is sort of the max for me in my fridge with dough. If I leave it for 3 days, I find the dough can kind of deflate when I tip it out to bake it. So I preheat the oven to 450 with the cast iron pot or the Dutch oven inside the oven. So I preheat the Dutch oven and the oven together to 450. And then I turn my dough out of the banneton baskets onto a piece of parchment paper to do my scoring. I've got my little scoring thingy here, little razor blade. This is great because it is a magnet, so it just sticks onto my fridge. Sometimes I do little decorative scores, sometimes I don't. And then I just do one big slash, kind of at an angle so that I can hopefully get a nice ear on the loaf. For a long time, I just used an X-Acto knife, but I did finally invest the like $6 or $8 or whatever into a proper bread scoring device, and it's so much better. This one is magnetic, so it just sticks on my fridge and I love it. Take the Dutch oven out of the oven, pop the whole loaf into the Dutch oven on the parchment paper. That makes it really easy to transfer. Lid on, bake at 450 for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, take the lid off, turn the oven down to 425 and bake it for another 20 minutes. If you are a bread expert, you might not think this is perfect, but I think this is perfect. Even if I cut into it and I see a huge air bubble or something, I'm still gonna be happy with it. Because it's fresh, it's super hard to cut, but by tomorrow it'll be much easier. Moment of truth. Oh, not too shabby. So I've got a couple of bigger holes here, but I'm not bothered by that at all. This is gonna be the most delicious loaf. Got some butter. Second moment of truth. I already know how it's gonna taste. I don't even need to taste it. There's nothing better. I'm convinced there's nothing better on this planet than a good piece of fresh sourdough bread. I may or may not have crumbs on my face, but we're gonna continue. I hope you found this video helpful. If you're curious about making sourdough bread, I know I didn't talk about making the starter in the first place. I think the best way to do that is actually just to ask around. Somebody in your life probably has a starter that's already good to go, and you can just take a little bit. You don't need much to get started. You can even ask a local bakery if they have some. They would probably be happy to give you some. And that's a wrap on my start to finish sourdough process. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you enjoyed the video. Something controversial we can talk about in the comments is I saw a woman recently, I think it was on TikTok, who did a full 10-minute knead of her dough before starting the stretch and folds. And there's a big debate over whether or not that's necessary. I was always taught to knead dough for a good long time, but now it's my understanding that actually time and kneading both do the same thing to gluten. So whether you want to knead it for 10 minutes or let it sit for 10 minutes, I'll choose let it sit for 10 minutes every day. It does basically the same thing. So comment down below if you think that you need to knead bread to make good sourdough. I think this is proof that you don't need to knead. I'm gonna go and finish my sourdough. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.